So we have here a 1.6 Xbox. It doesn't work. So, of course, what is the first thing we're going to do? Yeah, throw caps at it. Okay? I threw caps at it. It still doesn't work. And I'm going to show you why. Okay, I've busted this open. What we're going to be looking for is right there. That teeny little transistor there next to the clop cap that I've removed for this. But that little transistor right there is what we're going to be looking for in this board. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take, I've got this plugged in. I'm going to take my ground lead, stick it on ground, and then I'm going to put my positive probe on the collector of this transistor. And you can see I've got 0.02 volts. If I find somewhere to stick this probe and I can push the power button, nothing changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this transistor here. And this took a lot of time and energy to figure out what was going on. There's actually the original video right here that showed this fix. It's a little older, so it's not as clear, but we're going to make this clear and simple. And we're going to get under the microscope and show you how to take this off and how this is going to fix the board. Okay, this is the area of the capacitor. So right there is where the clock capacitor would be. We took that out just to replace. I'm doing this while we're in here. And the piece we're going to replace is this one right here, this C7. Sorry, it looks like a Q because this one over here is Q2. So a Q7C2. And it's that one there. We should be getting 3 volts off this. I failed to mention that earlier. 3 volts off this in order to turn the console on, and we are not. And so we're going to replace this. This is super cheap. I will put all the info in the description so that you can order your own. And I'm going to use 2 methods here, kind of a dual method here. You can use one or the other, but this is how I found works for me on this tiny one. I did try doing just a soldering iron, and it was a bit of a pain. And so I'm going to use both my soldering iron and hot air. If you opt to do just the soldering iron, make yourself a little C-shaped piece of metal wire that you can kind of wrap around there to get the entire board hot at the same time. It did work eventually, but it was just not so awesome to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some leaded solder to both sides here. And then I'm going to use the heat gun because this leaded solder, let's see if this works. The leaded solder lowers the melting temperature of this component because it uses unleaded solder to begin with. So we're going to get my hot air gun out, and I've got it set to 400 degrees. And I'm just going to heat this up. So the capacitor's gone. If the capacitor is there, you got to be a little more careful because you don't want that to explode, because that is kind of scary. I'll be honest with you. When they explode, especially when you've never had one explode on you before. So we're just going to keep the heat on this. And as soon as that melts all that solder, you can see it's melting already. And that just comes right out. That is the hardest part of this whole process. It's just getting that out. So let's clean that area up. Give you a cotton bud. So fun fact about these cotton buds, the dollar store cotton buds were so much better at cleaning this stuff than the good ones. The good ones just like fell apart or fall apart. They just kind of do this. They just kind of bleh. So we're going to clean that up. And we don't even need to mess with the solder. We can just leave it there. It's easy. Okay, let's get our new part. So I paid something like $8 for 40 of these. They're not exactly expensive. They're super cheap, but when you need one, it still costs you $8 to get 40 of them instead of whatever cents it costs to do this. So let's set this here because we will need some flux. Flux, we always need flux. Flux is going to be our dual purpose thing here. One, it's going to help the solder flow, and two, it's going to hold our part right where we want it. So obviously we're going to line it up the same way we did before. We're going to have the collector pointing down to the collector pad. We're just going to move this kind of into place. Just kind of like that. Great. And then I'm going to get my soldering iron. Let's move that light out of the way. And I'm just going to put some light pressure on this. See, if I push too hard, it moves. So let's just grab it and kind of hold it here. We're going to position it about equal to most pads. And that pad's already in. And now we can put a little pressure on this. That pad's in. That pad's in. We're done. That's it. This is what's keeping this Xbox from not turning on. Now I'm cleaning. So what happened in this particular case is I got a request to fix an Xbox that wasn't turning on. And, you know, I did the exact same thing that I did in the beginning of the video. I threw caps at it. You know, let's fix the obvious. Let's fix the caps. I fix the caps. It turns on. Cool. I take it out, put it all back together, put it in the box. Turns on and goes clunk, shuts off. And was dead. And someone had taken a 1.6 board and put it in a 1.4 box. And it was shorting the underside where there's a wayward post. This took a long time to find. But once I found that and realized that the caps were not the issue, that's indeed this transistor here, replace the transistor, pops right on. So let's put this all back together. I'm going to put that clock cap back on off camera, and we're going to put it all back together. Okay, we got the board put back in. I got it plugged into power. I've got it plugged into the mains. I don't have anything else hooked up. We don't have to do it at this point. I'm going to go ahead and ground myself and go ahead and touch that collector again. 3.2 volts. Excellent. That's what we want to see. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see what happens. Now at this point, we don't have to hook anything else up to make sure it works. It should just power on at this point. Huzzah. Look at that. It's obviously not going to do anything. It's not going to boot because there's no drive. But we have power now. Let's hook it all up. Make sure it works fully. Okay, we got our TV. And this Xbox. Green light. It's working. That's it. It works. It's alive. So, if you get an Xbox 1.6 that does not work, and you cannot figure out why it won't work, even after a recap, check this transistor fix out. I fixed 3 of them already, just in the past couple days, that do this. Cool, that's it. Thanks for watching. Post the info in the comments below.